Hello and welcome to the Happy Musician Vlogcast. So my name is Candace Lark. I am harpist, teacher, and coach, and a happy musician. I started this vlogcast to talk to other musicians about how they're keeping happiness in their art. I believe a happy musician is a successful musician. So my first guest today is Dr. Valeri Gay, and I'm so happy that she's here. So she's a serial entrepreneur, an amazing vocalist. She has degrees from University of the Arts, Temple University. She also received an honorary doctorate from St. Joseph University. And it is quite an honor to have her here. Oh, wait, is it right? Yeah, St. Joseph University. So Val, first of all, thank you for being here with me today. How are you?
Hi, Candace. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm great. It's a great day. It's a beautiful day.
Well,
Every day is a beautiful day, the way I see it, actually.
and that's why I have you here, because that is your mentality. That is how you live your life. So, Val, you are currently working on a new venture, and I don't want to say anything about it. I'm going to let you tell me and my viewers about it. It's pretty exciting.
Sure. So the adventure is called Soulful Affirmations. And the idea is we're using music as a grounding foundation, particularly specifically solfeggio frequencies that are put on top of affirmations that listeners that have been personalized and designed for the listener, who will then actually listen to these affirmations, things that they want to change in their lives, things that they perhaps goals they want to reach, with the goal of helping folks who partake in this to actually reach their goals. And so it's exciting to be a part of this, to bring it to the market. I'm partnering with an incredible creative named Halana. And Halana and I have had a great time just designing the whole thing. So it's starting to roll out to the market, and it's exciting.
It's always exciting when something new happens. What have you found about the power of affirmations? Obviously, it works because you're utilizing it in this new venture, but what are people saying about this?
Sure. Well, people have already started telling me how they are seeing changes in their lives. Actually, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, my brother and I, this has been kind of noodling in my head for this long. My brother and I were chatting, and he wasn't really familiar with affirmations, and we're in a very spiritual family. And I told him about it. And, frankly, there's lots of data and lots of traditions that talk about the power of the tongue, the power of our own minds, and the power that our tongues have to speak over ourselves. So in the Bible, it talks about the life and death actually lives in the tongue, and that what you can speak life over will live. Whatever you speak death over will die. And that's really powerful. And so applying all of that, again, looking at solfeggio frequencies, these very core and pure sounds, and then adding them. So with my brother, he wrote out some affirmations, and neither of us can remember who came up with the idea that he would record them. One of us came up with the idea, record it, and then I came up with the idea like, oh, I could play music to it. I'll just improvise some music to it. And, why don't you do that? So I just set up the recorder for him. He had written out these things, and we thought it was going to be like 2 minutes. 20 minutes later, he was still going. I was like, oh my goodness. So then I played it. I put my headset on. I just listened to his words, and I just played the keyboard, and like kind of very new agey kind of stuff, new agey chords. And his words were just really powerful, just hearing my brother's voice saying these things about himself. I am powerful. I'm a great dad. He is a great dad. I mean, all these things, like, so some of it is reinforcing what you already know to be true.
Right.
Some of it is like reaching for the things that you want to be true, right? And that you want to make happen in your life. And so within a couple weeks, he started listening to them daily, several times a day, on his morning commute, in between meetings. And he initially reported back, he was like, you won't believe it, but like all these things are starting to happen. And it's amazing that
Wow.
these things are happening. My life is changing around. Like his company like doubled. He got more clients, you know, he physically looked better, you know, his relationship with his wife was better, all of that stuff. And so so that was the seed that was in my head for a while. And I at some point was talking to Halana, and she has an amazing organization called Yoga Tree that does a lot of mindfulness and yoga and healthy living, healthy eating. She's just an amazing creative. And I was telling her about this idea, and she was like, you know, I've been thinking about something like that too. And so we came together, and it's been really incredible. And in fact, by word of mouth, I was talking to someone. The next thing I know, I have clients, and we weren't quite ready yet. And so that's been a little like, oh.
Well, that's when we have to start, when we're not ready. It's
yeah. But it's amazing. So I'm really excited. So basically, folks go on. We give them an assessment. They take the assessment, and then they have the option of having a female sounding voice read back their own personal affirmations or their recommended affirmations based on the assessment that they took. Again, these affirmations are then coupled with particular sound frequencies that have been designed to go with these affirmations, specific areas. And then, or they could have a male or female voice, or they could actually have their own voices recorded, which is really amazing, really powerful to hear your own voice. Some people are like, I don't want to hear my voice.
I'm one of those people.
Everybody else do it. Everybody else do it, you know? And then there's also an option of a video. So imagine having images, video images, supporting the affirmations that you want to see in your life. And so all this stuff comes together, and, you know, is about like a 10, 11, 12-minute package that we say, hey, pop it in, you know, when you're in the shower, like just play it, have it running, like when you're doing different things in your car, you know, at any time of the day, play it multiple times a day, and just keep note of and having intention of what you want to change in your life, and keep note and watch as things start to change or solidify or manifest in your life. And so I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about, you know, seeing an idea come to fruition, seeing other people be connected to the idea and think one is a good idea. That's always
right.
Cool. When you have an idea, someone goes, "Oh, that's a good idea." I'm like, yes, great, it's me, you know. And then, you know, also I'm really hopeful that, you know, people can get value out of this, and that they can experience a more positive, more charged life, a life that they want to see for themselves, you know.
I mean, how incredible is that? I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we all want to feel valued, and we want to be valued.
Yes,
we want to add value. I mean, so
absolutely,
it's amazing. So the fact that you're offering that to people and helping them reach for that and get that, you know, that reaffirm that feeling is extremely helpful, and I'm sure that this is just going to explode. Remember when you meet Oprah, because I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
Oh my God, that would be so amazing. Like, so you know, Oprah's on my list, right? So I have 3 people. I've had 3 people on my list. One, I was this close to him 3 or 4 different times. So close that someone on behalf of me said, this woman named Val wants to meet you. And he was like, no. So like, whatever, Alan Greenspan. So like, whatever. And so I really wanted to meet him because a lot of people don't, or some people may not know that before Alan Greenspan was the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and I started my first encounter and wanting to meet with him was when I was a wealth manager. I'm a certified financial planner, and I was, you know, people are like, oh, music, you know, money, it's like numbers, obviously, math is all very close. But I was really interested in the fact that before he became an economist, he was actually a professional musician. And in
I did not
fact,
know that.
he played in bands in private clubs. And so in these clubs, often these clubs would have libraries. So in between sets, he played trumpet. In between sets, the band would have to go to the library, and he saw a whole wall of like economic books, books about economics. And so he pulled them down, started reading them, and decided, I think I really want to go into this. That's why I really wanted to talk to him, to really kind of like go into his mind, like, wow, like what a cognitive shift. I totally get it. But, so that was the first one. Yeah, right. How did you do that? The second person that I really wanted to meet is the Dalai Lama. So I have to say, I am a Christian. I use these terms like people have different connotations, but I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I'll say it that way. And there's just something about the Dalai Lama from the first time I saw him on TV and like read his books. It was just like, I just really want to meet this human being. And one day, and I was telling people, I was like, it's one day when I was at Temple University, a woman who was my assistant at the time, assistant director, came into me and she was like, didn't you say you wanted to meet the Dalai Lama? And I was thinking, dang, I told you too. Apparently I was telling everybody.
You have to put it out there.
Yeah. And she had this tiny little piece of paper that she had gotten. She cut out a little ad that was in the Metro that I would have never seen because I drove to work. So I never read the Metro. That said the Dalai Lama is coming to the Philadelphia area. And by the time I got it, I went online and the thing that was advertising was completely sold out. And I was like, dang it. But it was like, but there's this thing, this one day thing is sold out, but there's this 5-day thing with the Dalai Lama. And I was like, I'm signing up. And I checked my American Express points and I had just enough points to cover it, the whole price of it completely. It was amazing. It was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania at Lehigh University. It was months later. It was like for several months out. Literally the day before I went, someone who I had talked to, who was a professor at Lehigh, I asked him, hey, is it possible if I could rent a dorm room? Because I don't want to drive back and forth.
Yeah.
Didn't hear from him. Literally the day before I left, which happened to be my birthday, he called me and said, hey, do you still need a room? And I was like, yeah. He goes, there are no dorm rooms, but my colleague has a house and she was just opening her house up for people, renting out rooms. I was like, okay. So I called the lady and she was like, oh, so sorry, the last room is done. I only have a room left in the basement and I don't really feel comfortable. I was like, tell you what, I will come, and if it's just not suitable, no problems, I will just go away. Or if you don't like me, no problems, I'll go away. She was like, okay, that sounds fine. So I packed my stuff. I had my Lysol, because the way she sounded, I was like, oh my God, this place is probably I packed my Lysol. And I get there and you're driving through Bethlehem, and then the GPS says turn left, and I turn left and the first thing I see is a waterfall. And I was like, wait a second. And it's like a park. I'm like, where's the house? Oh, there it is, up on the hill. The waterfall, like the WPA back in the 30s, they made this park and it was a beautiful waterfall that had art everywhere, sculptures. Her house was up on the hill. The basement was an amazing suite that was bigger than my apartment at the time.
Oh my God.
And the room was amazing. And it turns out a student, she was a professor at the university, one of her students was also living in the basement, and he was a musician. She was not a musician. She was an English professor. He was a musician and a massage therapist. I'm just saying, I was in nirvana. I mean, and I gained a new friend, and at the very end, 2 new friends, including we had the same seat in the Stapler Theater, Staple Theater or Stabler, I forget, theater arena on Lehigh University's campus. So me and 5,000 of my closest friends were there for 5 days with the Dalai Lama. I was about maybe 100 yards away from him.
Oh my God.
And the guy sitting next to me was RuPaul's accountant. Like, you can't even make this up. And he was the hottest person in the building. Literally, I would get up and go to the bathroom, and some chick would be in my seat when I came. I'm like, Jim, like, how do they know we were not together? Like, it was so ridiculous. But at the very end, they were like, no pictures, nothing. I was like, Jim, and I just watched what the Dalai Lama did every day. He would come out in the mornings. He would come to the edge of the stage. He'd bow to folks, and then he'd call for prayer. And then in the afternoon, he would just go straight to his seat. So it's the last day, and I turned and I could hear it so clearly that I was supposed to do this. I was like, Jim, I just feel really strongly I need to go over there. He's like, dude, you go. I'm gonna sneak my camera out, my phone out, and take a photo and see if I could do it.
Oh
I was
my
like,
goodness.
okay. So I go down, the guard stops me and I show him my ticket and I point up to Jim and I was like, and Jim waves, I was like, I just want to come down and pray. And the guy goes, okay. So I go to the front. There's nobody there. I go to the front and
Wow.
it's like this, and I'm just standing there kind of praying. The Dalai Lama comes out, looks at me, and does this to me.
Oh my gosh. I think I would
And then
out.
it was crazy. He turns around and then he bows. And then I was like, wait, I don't know if he has anything under that. So I just turned my head, right? And so then we have prayer. Everybody's praying. And I kid you not, when the prayer's over, we stop, we turn around. I turn around to go back to my seat. There are hundreds of people behind me. Candace, if I hadn't moved when I heard it,
you would have been behind all those people.
Yeah, I would have been behind those. I might not have been able to even make it because a lot of those people were from the floor.
Right.
So, because I was one level up and they were all on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
It was amazing. And then as we were leaving, the whole thing gets documented because a film crew stops us and says, can we interview him with my friend and my new friend, Danielle? And she was like, oh no, you don't want to interview me. You want to interview her because of her story. And I was like, no. My hair was a mess. I was like, no. And the woman goes, don't worry. It won't be on film. We only have the camera for documentation. I'm with the newspaper. And I just want your story. And I was like, okay, great. So I tell her the story, how excited and how like the Dalai Lama. I was like, so for me, that was like meeting the Dalai Lama. Anyway,
but you followed your spirit, like you followed the feeling. You did not deny yourself.
Yes, like that's exactly.
And your reward was amazing.
Hearing the voice. So that's the second one. So right now I'm 1 for 2. So Alan Greenspan, no. Dalai Lama, I will count that as a yes.
That's a huge one.
Right? He acknowledged my presence and bowed to me, which is amazing. And then the third one is Oprah. That's where I was going with this story. The third one is Oprah.
I mean,
Oprah, because Oprah is Oprah. And I appreciate her presence in the world because Absolutely. She shows us that anything is possible, that you can have a thought and that you can shift, and how she came in, how she's always talking about her stories about how, she ends up in this space and people try to put her in a box. And sometimes she allows herself to go into a box. But once in there, it's like, oh, this is too crowded. I got to get out. And everybody always told her, very few people gave her encouragement. But everybody told her, like, no, you can't do this. No one's ever done that. What makes you think this? Look how you look. Look where you come from. Look. But she listened to the voice, the spirit, and
well, she's a huge believer in affirmations. I mean,
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And one of my favorite stories of Oprah is I saw her live maybe 3 years ago. I think it was like 3 years ago on Living Your Best Life tour. My friend and I drove to Washington, D.C. Again, similar kind of thing. We're like 100 yards from Oprah, this time no Oprah sighting. But one of the things she said was she always loved trees. Yeah. And when she was young, she was in Baltimore, and she had gone to visit a big donor with her co-host. And she was so nervous, and this woman was very wealthy, and she had trees in her front yard. And she thought, oh, I want to have trees in my front yard. And this woman had 6 trees. I want 6 trees in my front yard. And she says one day she was in her kitchen. This is hilarious the way she said it. Sipping my Tevana tea, hilarious. And she goes, I realized as I was looking out the kitchen window, I'm looking at 6 trees. And her heart started pounding, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. She goes, so I decided to take a step outside. And of course she knew this, but sometimes what we know doesn't sink in cognitively, right? She opened her door and she saw not 6 trees, but hundreds of trees. And she said what it meant to her in that moment. She started crying like, oh my gosh, that God, there's a Bible verse that says, now to him, meaning God, who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that you can ask or think. that part, a lot of people talk about. It's the next part that is really important to me, which is according to the power that is working in you, which means is the first part is God is powerful, right? However you call God, the universe, however you call it, I call God, God, right?
Whatever
God is
God
powerful,
is.
right? We know that, but
Yeah.
it's the second part that's important, right?
Right.
It's like, you know, I can have my phone, and if my phone is turned off, I can't use my phone. It's not until I turn it on, right, that I can actually use it. And that's the power, right? And so that to me is, I'm so glad you brought up Oprah. I don't know how I got on this tangent because you know her. But to me, it's all connected with the affirmations too, right? Again, it goes all the way back to thinking and then speaking life. And the beauty is, even if you decide not to do affirmations, what we can all do is not speak death over ourselves. You know, like there've been so many folks that talked about, like, if someone else heard how we were speaking to ourselves, or if we spoke to other people the way we speak to ourselves.
Oh my goodness.
You know, right? Like I mean, it's awful. It's so abusive oftentimes how we speak to ourselves. You know,
I have this thing on my wall right now, and it says, encourage yourself as you would your best friend.
Yes.
Because we, you know, what we speak becomes. So we have to make sure that, and I have that there to catch myself, you know, so I don't fall into a pattern, and to reaffirm, hey, you know, what would you tell? I think I actually had a teacher years ago who just was like, I think she noticed some self-deprecating behavior and just was like, listen, you're gonna write down, if this is the question, you know, what would you tell your best friend right now who's in this situation? I want you to write it down. And it changed my world. And I'm so happy that she made me do that, because I kept it and I didn't even realize what I was saying to myself, you know. It makes a huge difference. So these affirmations and this whole thing that you're doing it's needed, and I truly believe it's necessary. And the fact that you've added music is, you know, to blanket these affirmations and in a way to deliver them is just, it's just profound to me. So
thank you. Thank you.
And I'm excited. Very grateful to you for this.
Well, I can't wait to hear like what happens with you and your affirmations.
I signed up. So everybody, yes, I signed up for this, and all of the information for Val's affirmations will be on the website. It'll be linked to the video. You'll be able to go right to her site, figure out everything. And I highly recommend that you look into this. I do affirmations. They're amazing. They work. But this new way, I need them. And I'm, you know, I'll have to report back after I've started.
Yes, please.
But I have a few quick questions for you.
Sure.
We'll see if they're quick. I ask everyone these questions that does the Happy Musician Vlogcast. Right now, what are you currently reading? What is your book?
I am reading some heavy stuff. Right, so we are in, you know, we got the global pandemic, we got civil unrest, we have the revealing of inequities. So some of us in our society know and are very well acquainted with inequities across the board. Others of us are now starting to become acquainted and didn't know. So it's great that people are starting to understand. So in one of my other ventures, I do some consulting with a colleague, and we are doing work around equity. And so I just finished reading White Fragility, and I'm now working on the great tome, How to Be an Anti-Racist, and by Ibram X. Kendi, and he is an amazing writer. He has a way of telling stories to elucidate issues and to really, I think, help people digest a topic that can be very uncomfortable for folks. And so I'm reading that right now. I'm also reading, I typically read, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 books at a time.
I don't know how to read one book at a time. Like, does anyone do that? I don't know.
Oh, great. This is exactly why I have a Kindle, which is, I have it on my phone. I have it on my computer, you know, because I'm so sick of carrying like these heavy books, you know. And so a mutual friend of ours, Ruth Naomi Floyd, gave me a beautiful copy of the David Blythe biography of Frederick Douglass. So that's on my list. Really light reading, all this light reading. And then,
Well, we got the time right now, right?
right? Yeah. A book called Tiny Habits. And I'm forgetting the author's name, but it's really cool because he gives his like micro habits to basically scaffold anything big that you want to do. Just like with music, we got to break it down, you know,
Exactly.
like you can't just sing a melisma or, play a melisma and, just do it.
Right.
And it's okay. It's like breaking it down. The musicians are really apt to that. It's like the Zen of tennis, like thinking about all of that. And so Tiny Habits is a book about that, and anything that you want to change, you literally can do it just by starting first with the intention and linking it to actual movements, or like, when I brush my teeth, I'm going to do XYZ, or I'm going to think about something. And it starts the process. So
right.
those
Being
three are on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, being more present. There's a book I'm reading, Practicing Mind, and he talks about that, how you can be more present and actually slow down and focus on each individual action to help you not only refine a habit, but create a new habit. It's pretty intense, but it's necessary. But all right, we're going to list these books you listed here, and because everyone should know about these books.
Right.
My next question is this one. What's your favorite piece to play or sing, I should say, since you are an amazing vocalist?
I have to say, I don't have favorites. It is so hard. I think the favorite that
it's
I'm
an unfair
doing,
question.
it's always the thing is in the moment, right? Like I can always tell when I really like a piece or the piece is really troubling me because it shows up in my dreams and I wake up hearing it, singing it. Especially after a performance, if something didn't go well, and then I will perfect it in my dreams and then wake up like, dang it, why did I do this yesterday? But so right now, I'm taking organ lessons, and so I love to play the organ and specifically gospel organ. So it's like a combination of, so it's a Hammond organ, which is really amazing. And I love exploring theory through a gospel lens because you get a little bit of classical. So we're doing like figured bass stuff. So everything is rooted on the bass. So the song that I'm learning, I'm learning it through the bass line and thinking about the bass line just like you would like a, just like you think about a Bach fugue. So the song is, I don't even know the other chords. All I know is the bass line is 1 7 3 6 6 5 flat 5 3 2 flat 5 5 5 5 5 1. You know what I mean? And then it's great. So that's been in my head a lot.
So this is your current favorite on the organ. I'm really impressed. I mean, the organ is tough. It's a full body instrument.
Yes.
Like the harp, but I feel like the organ's much tougher.
It is. It's so much fun, and I love, just being a singer and always playing and singing with it. And I have to say, I played the organ for a while, but I had a couple of lessons with a lady from my church who was so sweet, because she realized I had been thrown into the deep end. And like the main organist at my church when I was 16 went away on vacation for a month and left me there to play the services, play the piano, play the organ. I used to always say I'm a constipated organist. And be like, and it was like high church. So like play the, or like, hold on, hold the note, hold on. Okay, here we go. And so learning all these things. And so it's been great. My instructor, Austin Woodland, is an amazing musician, composer, producer. And so I love loving exploring music in this way. I've always loved music theory. And so this is another way to explore it. And I would say vocally, I'm exploring right now different genres. All my degrees are in classical music, but I grew up in gospel and pop, I guess, less pop, but mostly gospel. And so exploring different genres. I'm exploring audio production and video production because I don't have anybody here to do it for me. So I got to learn how to do it.
Darn it.
You know, and seeing different things and hearing tried and true like songs, for example, songs maybe I've grown up on or I've heard all the time, and discovering like, oh, I need to do something a little differently here. So applying creativity to that, and then singing with myself, having multiple tracks. Singing, I'm fortunate to have a large range, so I can sing the soprano, alto, tenor,
Right.
you know.
Save my life, but I mean, I'm impressed with
Yeah.
anyone can do it. So, I mean, it's so amazing to me, even though I'm a musician, the range that you have just musically, from the organ to singing to being in finance to, I mean, just your range as a human being is very impressive. So don't ever stop being awesome. I have another question. Oh, now this one might be a little easier to answer. What two people, I have a feeling the Dalai Lama might be in this one. What two people are the most influential, to you, and why?
Actually, the Dalai Lama is not in there. And I'm fortunate that the Dalai Lama is not there because the two people who are most influential in my life are my parents. And why is because they saw me from the very beginning, even when I didn't see myself, and they made space for me. And they encouraged me like constantly. And I'm just so grateful for my parents. And so like they've been telling me stories about how when I was a child, really young, like 8 months, 9 months, well, not able to walk yet, there was one song apparently that I responded to on the radio. It was a gospel song called Ain't No Use, Nobody's Gonna Turn Me Around. And
wow, that's a long title.
Right? Apparently, I would pull myself up in the crib and shake the crib across the floor on that song. And it was like, I think it was like foreshadowing, like, don't box me in, man. Like, you know. And then my dad, they tell a story about like around that same time period. Again, I can't walk, but I figured out a way. And there was something about, I think I didn't like to be pinned in. I figured out a way to climb out of the crib and like to sit or to lie on the cross at the top of the crib. So my father said he came in one day to my room, opened the door just to check on me. I was supposed to be sleeping, and I was lying on the top of the crib, looking at him. And he says, "Oh my!" He was like, "My heart was in my mouth." And that day we took off the railing, and put clothes on the floor just in case you fell out. But we knew we couldn't hold you in. And they've always made space for me. They knew I was an artist before I knew I was an artist. And, just encouraged me, got piano lessons. They knew I was musical, got piano lessons. I remember my first solo in church. I was 3 years old, and my mother's sitting right in front of me, and I'm just singing to my mother. She was when I also went to Peabody Conservatory, spent half of my undergrad at Peabody Conservatory, and the very first opera I was in, my parents were in the audience, and they were always there, whether they understood the story, whether they understood the language, whether they had ever heard the music before, they were always there, and they are always there supporting me. And so they taught me how to think positively. They taught me to not make a permanent decision. And sometimes I did anyway, right? But not make a permanent decision out of a temporary issue. They taught me, my mother used to say things like, I'm not broke, I'm just temporarily out of funds. That's a completely different mindset.
It's totally different.
And so I'm so grateful to both of them. And they are, and Toni Morrison talked about that every child, I think it was Toni Morrison or Maya Angelou, one of the two of them, that said that every child should feel, or they would hope every child would feel love, and that at least when they walked in the room, when they saw their parents' eyes, that the light in their eyes would come on, and that you would see love in your parents' eyes. And I have that every time. I hear it in their voice when they hear my voice in the phone. I see it in their eyes. I've had other people comment about, wow, your parents really love you. You guys are really fortunate. And so to me, they showed me how to receive love, and in return, how to give unconditional love to my child, to my daughter.
And And that's what parents should do. And they did it.
Yeah.
Apparently they did an amazing job.
Oh.
So maybe I have to get them on here. They may are your, even if they're not musicians, because apparently they know exactly what they're doing. So, I'm so touched by your answers, like taking me a second. I'm getting verklempt. My last question to wrap this up is, what is the one thing you do to keep happiness in your art?
Oh,
it might not be one thing, it might be two.
Yeah, it's actually just to do it. Just to do it, you know. Just singing, for example. As a child, I live in the house that I grew up from age 1 to 12, 1 to 14. And in fact, this room that we're sitting in is my former bedroom for a while. We've like swapped rooms around, but this was my former bedroom. And I remember being 12 years old. Remember 12 years old or 14 years old, 13 years old. Oh,
time.
Oh. And I'm so grateful for music because I would come home after school and drop my books and play sad love songs, sappy love songs on the piano and sing and cry.
Oh my God.
And I always felt better. I didn't even know that was my therapy. It was just, you know, what I did, you know, and so to this day, yeah, you know, to this day, you know, when I'm sad, I sing. When I'm happy, I sing. When I'm angry, sometimes I sing. And when I'm feeling disconnected from myself or from others, I sing, you know, or I play. It's music. And it's not just me listening, it's the act of me doing it, you know, just for the love of it, not to perfect anything, not for a performance, but just for the love of it. That is what brings me joy, is what makes me happy.
Well, I don't think I can talk to any other musician like you just said it all. So. I just want to say thank you, first of all, for being here and just sharing your time and your energy and, you know, just bearing your heart and soul, not too much, but a little bit with me. And I'm just going to wrap this up. But before I go, I just want to make sure that you know that Val and I are actually colleagues. We played together a little bit, and she composes and rearranges amazing music. I've used that word a lot during this vlogcast, amazing, but I'm going to keep using it. And please look her up. Please search her out. Please reach out to her. And of course, you know, check out her venture. It's something that everyone can benefit from. So thank you again, Val. And I look forward to seeing you around.
Likewise, absolutely. And look forward to hearing what happens with your soulful affirmations, Candace.
I am too. I'm excited. I was like filling out my form, and I was just like, the closer I got to the end of the form, the more excited I started getting. I was like, awesome. I'm waiting. So I will definitely report back about that. Awesome. So that's all for today. I thank you again. So I want to thank everyone for watching the very first Happy Musician Vlogcast. I'm Candace Lark. My guest today was Valeri Gay. Next vlogcast, I will have accomplished cellist Ezgi Yargatsi, who focuses on mindful music. And I'm not going to spoil it, but until then, stay happy.
It's awesome too. Stay happy. Yay! Thank you, Candace.